The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it is indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it is indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it is indifference. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zulfikar Prayogi and I just brought you quote said by the early wisdom. A Holocaust survivor and Nobel Prize winner. But even if the early wisdom said similar things said by Jokowi due to confrontation of vaccination back on December 2021, he also said that the opposite of feeling can only be the absence of feeling, which is what indifference is. Well, before I explain you further in my speech today, I will give you term of contention that I put into 3 constructive points. I like to first of all talk about instilling people understanding on what is hero and what is indifference. Second is I'd like to give you the hidden side of how the act of indifference could contribute to the downfall of the nation. And the last of all is I'd like to give you to encourage people goodwill in terms of beauty quality of giving self-careness for the sake of better nationalism feeling. Well, let's dive into our first point. To understand what it means to be hero, we need to know and practice its employment in our daily basis. I ask you, what is hero? Well, basically, hero isn't just becoming soldiers or political figures who concept revolution for independence. But a hero is you, showing the courage, services, and belonging towards society. By means to get off the comfort zone in order to live beyond the box and becoming worthwhile for another. It surely leads into a question of what you give to the nation, not what you ask for. Unlike indifference, this perspective manifests itself in terms of neutrality mindset. Well, this mindset says that sitting still will be enough. As long as we don't do anything bad, well, that's okay. But that is not true. For there is no such an idea of neutrality that can benefit the victim, even the people of the country. There is no hero that is neutral. All heroes in the history took sides. They make the struggle. Had our national hero Raden Ajeng Kartini look at the social issues which was about the injustice and discrimination toward women, or Ki Hajar Dewantoro perhaps made up the educational problems which was about the unequal qualities between rich and poor in terms of gaining education. If only they were not taking the side of human privilege issue, I as young generation will then be able to have something to do with my speech today, because I, even the entire people of its own nation, will then be able to get a proper access to education. So from all that we understand, indifference is like a stage where you stand in the gray, within the blurry line of a black and white. And in your stand, you don't even have any sentiment to lay on the specific side. You just let people struggle and fight within themselves. Indifference is an obstacle toward what we are aiming for, realizing that the nation ambition is citizen responsibility. But if the said citizens are too busy giving into determination of no response and let our ambition, it probably make the society undergo the stage with people who really contrast with the success, even the mission of the nation. People are absent in terms of national loyalties. There is no sense of belonging. There is no goodwill of citizens to fight for the country. And you know what? No matter what issues the nation is facing, as long as people who reside within the land of the country do not give a slight of a care or feeling, there is no recovery will be in sight. Let's take the COVID-19 pandemic as the open example. Above the health protocol and safety regulation, the only one thing that can make those rules work is people care enough to abide by them. Aside from pandemic, Indonesia is facing a number of issues. We have ever heard the issue, which is it. We only ever heard the problems, merely never with the resolution. The capital city of Jakarta, as the example, has been repeatedly announced as one of the most populated cities in the world, due to the poor air qualities that causes around 5.5 million cases of health issues each year. Their problems does not come out of nowhere and surely will not live until there is a change within the behavior of the society. The amount of indifference people when it comes to harming the environment is horrifying. The fact that they are aware that their city is ranked as one of the most populated cities in the world, but since you to take private transportation every day, so shows that how the society still lacks sentiment to break out of the comfort of disregard for the sake of the country, even for themselves. Well, another internal issue is regarding the movement of the separation. People in one of the largest islands in Indonesia, Papua, had expressed desire to go separated way. The reason, according to Indonesia's Institute of Science, is including the marginalization toward Papua in terms of economic and transmigration, the failure of infrastructure advancement, the different historical understanding between Jakarta and Papua, the lack of human resource improvement, and the most important is the legacies. The legacies of violation that is done by the government. Where there had been reported how the Indonesian soldier had done a good amount of human rights violation toward the indigenous people of this island. There's recently only 5 out of a lot of reasons that encourage its population to desperately desire for separation. The main issue is again the act of indifference that is done by both of the government, even by the rest of society. Nobody cared enough to set things right. Nobody cared enough to help stop the injustice and violation that had been occurring to the victim. Nobody cared enough about their pleas until they had no choice but to be angry. And when it comes to deep, it probably causes an action of terrorism and rebellion by aim to disregard the country's unity to emphasize either identity. That is the reason why I said that the second point of mine, that the act of indifference is danger. Now let's dive into our last point, that is upon the question of how. How to encourage people goodwill in the beauty quality of giving self-careness for the sake of our nation. The solution is the opposite. Let's start from education and academic by planting sentiment of love for the country. Well, for civic and the history education system, Indonesia is this best on memorizing things, telling the student what had happened in the past in the periodical manner. But just it. What should be done is actually building the historical empathy by adding someone who comes from nationalists or people who are connected with the history. Take the student to go on the field trip such museum so the student can understand the feeling of the past and make the subject into discussion. So the student can process the knowledge with a meaning of patriotism and nationalism. Help them embody national identity to understand that they had stayed and responsible within the country's problems and ambition. And last but not least, regarding to all narrative and the trials we have today, that in this case, we need a real movement. We need a real passionate social action that can motivate others to heal and to help our nation. Indeed, I cannot be the arbiter of revolution. That is not me, and I'm not here for that. But I always wish my speech can be the power to speak up for others. Be the voice of reason for someone to wake up and realize that this nation is calling us. And we have to walk on that calling. Believe that each and every one of us has the quality to become a hero with our action for the well-being of our people. Because as generation, for me understand that the life we live as Indonesian will be nothing without love. I raise my case.